Hi, I'm McLeod Chapman, and I am the creator of the Pumpkin Pie Show. The Pumpkin Pie Show is a rigorous storytelling session, and we like to perform either to one person or 50 people or 500 people, but it tends to be a live theatrical event that kind of favors more immersive experience of, we want to see our performers sweat, and the audience, I want to see the audience's eyes. The white of their eyes. I started this show when I was like 18. I don't know, like I just always wanted to be in a band, and I didn't have the talent nor the skill set to play an instrument or sing a tune, so, but I love the idea of creating an event that was like a set list of songs or a set list of pieces that you could kind of rotate and take on the road and, you know, tour. It's just this version of the Pumpkin Pie Show is the acoustic version, the unplugged version, but you know, we do live stage shows with other performers and sometimes music. But it had to have a name, and the band's name was the Pumpkin Pie Show. Something that was like a medicine show, a kind of tent revival, really kind of leaned into the Southern Gothic, the seasonal, the Halloween kind of aspect to it. We usually do a new show every October in New York City, and we've been doing it for 20 years. For me, I feel like the way to kind of immerse our audience into these performances, I feel like it has to kind of like go back to like caveman days around the campfire. Like if you spin a good yarn, your audience, you know, regardless of how many people it is, their suspension of disbelief will kind of kick in, and you could be anywhere. Like I don't need a stage, I don't need a costume or a set or makeup or any of these things. I feel like if you tell a good story and you tell it well, and the kind of persona of whatever that character is, whoever that person is, if those things come across and you make a kind of like earnest connection to your audience, they will be willing to kind of meet you halfway. So that's my hope, at least. I got my training originally kind of in theater. I love to write short stories. I went to Sarah Lawrence College, which is one of these small kind of liberal arts schools that favors writing. But as a big fan of Flannery O'Connor or William Faulkner, I loved kind of the Southern Gothic stories that favored narrative, just Edgar Allan Poe, like we were talking about before. I love that kind of format, that structure to a story where you say to yourself, hi, I'm the narrator of this character. Take my hand, I'm gonna lead you through this tale. And by the way, I'm not crazy, but did you hear that? I'm sorry, I killed someone yesterday and I buried them in my basement. And did you hear that Klein on the, there's something to be said about a narrative that kind of unfolds, that you as either the reader or the audience member feel almost like entrapped, that like whoever this person was, this character was at the beginning of the story, you suddenly have this kind of adjustment or an evolution of your understanding of who that character is. It's the unreliable narrator. I mean, the techniques that I use is, I feel like there's something really oddly unnerving for an audience member to be like, oh, am I supposed to do something now? Am I supposed to say something now? And I feel like, at least in the world of theater, the fourth wall has always been this protective blanket, and you're safe behind it. But to actually kind of genuinely connect with somebody, and I feel like these are quote unquote monologues, but they are in fact a bit of a dialogue. And whether that is a very subtle dialogue, like I feel as if you, in our performance, really kind of provided feedback that I as a performer utilized, responded to, and that was either like you would laugh at something or react to something. I mean, if someone's falling asleep in front of you, that is in of itself a communication that you are doing something wrong, or that you need to change your tactic. And I don't know, like I feel as if I would love to engage with my audience in this way that feels as if there's some sort of like give and take, whether that's a very kind of slight and subtle thing or not, but we're corresponding. I mean, it definitely runs the gamut of audience response, and I think for me, it depends on the story itself. And the story Rest Area, which is all about a father who is looking for his daughter, and the further into the story you go, you have to start questioning these things. Like I've seen audiences respond in a multitude of ways of either like going on emotional lockdown of like, oh my god, like I don't want to talk to this person, I don't want this person talking to me. The more kind of empathetic, kind of bawling kind of like response. I mean, it really, it depends on the performance and the communication between the audience, because it's theatrical snowflakes. Like I'm going to do that performance, that story, a 1,000 times, and each time it's different or contoured differently because the audience is different and they're giving something else, something new back to me. And if I'm doing my job, I'm going to respond to that rather than the like, oh, I'm going to say this line the exact same way I said it 5 other times. For me, the difference between performing to one person versus more than one, I think I like to treat the multiple performances, the multiple audience members as like a rock concert. That there are going to be your power ballad stories, your punk rock ditties, but that like there's a certain kind of showmanship. Like the best concerts I've ever been to tend to be with performers who take into account as many people within that audience as humanly possible, and kind of create or generate energy that they feed back on. So that to me is the if it's a larger audience, it tends to be a little more ruckus. If it's a one-on-one, it's listening, it's breathing. It's just like you've created a silent scene partner who is going to offer, who is your audience, and like that to me makes a huge difference, because you have to really take into account that as the performer, you have no control over this piece. Those stories could have ended a lot sooner if you just stepped up and left. Like, nope, not gonna do it. As the writer of the material, this may be me and only me, but I value these pieces as short stories first and foremost. So I want to believe that they can exist on the page and be read to oneself, independently of any performance. Now, whether anyone else wants to agree with me on that, like that remains to be seen. But I like the fact that there's a duality of source material, that it's text, that you can read it to yourself before you go to bed, or get an actor behind it and it becomes shake and bake theater. I think I want this to have a kind of literary flavor. Again, Flannery O'Connor and Edgar Allan Poe have haunted me, and I'm just aping them for years now. But yeah, I want to believe that your interpretation of the material as a reader might differ from my performance of it, but that's okay. Those exist kind of in their own vacuum, and that's kind of exciting. I've been very, very lucky. I've written 7 books, 2 of which are short story collections, and the first one was called Rest Area, which was the story I did for you. Last year, 2017, a new book of short stories came out, 40 different short stories, called Nothing Untoward. So if you're looking for something good to read, you could do worse. I mean, what I love about the Overlook Festival, and before that the Stanley Film Festival, was that here's a festival that, yes, film is the kind of foundation for it, but both Michael and Landon have done a really good job of kind of letting the parameters of this festival kind of modulate themselves a little bit to incorporate something more theatrical, something more immersive. I know the games, I know Blackout, the VR experiences. These are things that you probably wouldn't get at a lot of other film festivals. And I would make the claim that maybe a year or two from now, as this thing continues to evolve, the immersive experiences might be duking it out a little bit more with the film, and maybe it'll suddenly become the Overlook Immersive Festival. Maybe. We'll see. I'm definitely very Googleable. There's a website called McLeodChapman.com, and I'm on all the social media platforms. But and the books are always, I feel like those are the best ways. I hope, please.